Live from JMT Studios, it's time for Two Jersey Kids, the best video game podcast on the planet.
What is up, everybody? This is episode 42 and a half. This is Two Jersey Kids, the best video game podcast. That is Two Jersey Kids. I am your host, Adam Buckham. Alongside me is my best friend, the best tick handler in the business, Gary Seisel. How you doing today, Gary?
A little nervous. There's a thunderstorm brewing outside of my house, so if the power goes out during this episode, I am sorry to all the dear listeners out there. But as always, I'm excited to be here, happy to be here. I'm ready to start this episode off right. Let's get to it.
I was talking to you before we started recording this, and for some reason I just been feeling off all today. Like, you ever have those moments where you're just like, you're going through the motion, and you just feels like, man, I just don't feel right. Like, it doesn't feel right, like what you're doing. Like, you feel kind of bored. But like, it's like a mix of like, just like, I don't know what it is. It's just strange.
That's how work was for me. Like, this past weekend was fun at work. I had a decent time, but like a week ago, I had one of those spurts where it was like 3 days straight of working, and I was like, I just don't feel like being here right now. I really don't feel like talking to anybody because I deal with people all the time, so it's kind of hard to. You kind of have to be like a certain person, I guess, to work in retail. So it's kind of, I don't know. I had like a little spurt where I was kind of lacking motivation, but I came around. It'll come around. I
could feel it during the day. I was like, I just want to be like, I want to leave here and just relax and do my own thing, not have a bunch of people around me. I don't know. Just my introvert self was just kicking in. I was like, I don't need to be around people. I want to be to myself. But yet
I'm doing me time.
Yeah, yet I'm doing the extroverted thing of recording a podcast. Even though I remember reading a book, Quiet, The Power of Introverts, and sometimes, well, you're my friend, so we talk more deeply, which is what introverts like more. It's not like they don't like talking. They just hate the bullshit small talk that goes on, like, all in the world. But they also say that, like, introverts are also better and more engaged in, like, interacting through, like, social media and stuff because there's a barrier between the two people. So, like, they're more willing to put it there for them, the other side, to then read it.
You don't feel as self-conscious.
Yeah, something along those lines. So, I mean, I guess maybe that's why I feel more uppity. And hopefully throughout the whole recording of this podcast, my mood starts shifting back up. Yeah, it just takes, sometimes it's a slow burn back up the hill to get, my energy, excitement. And I am the host of this podcast, so I need to get my shit together. Am I right? But Gary, tell me, maybe you letting me know what you've been up to this weekend will make me happy. What have you been up to? What have you been doing? You still fucking not building that PC?
Well, I finally got my hard drive in today. Okay, so I'm still inching my way closer to the finish line when it comes to getting all these PC parts together. I need two more things, as it turns out. My brother-in-law came over this weekend for Father's Day, so we were kind of together just talking, and he was taking a look at my parts that I got in, and he said that I needed a heat sink for my CPU and also thermal paste. I guess that's another thing that I have to learn about, but I basically I'm waiting on two more parts now to come in before I can finally get this thing up and running. I still need a monitor, mouse, and keyboard, but they're on their way, and I've picked out some things a monitor anyway that I want to buy.
I want to put you on the spot right now. What's your first game that you play?
I'm leaning towards either Civilization or Skylines. Yeah, City Skylines. I've just been really in the mood to play one of those city simulators, maybe even like a nation builder, you could call it. Civilization, strategy game, turn-based, whatever. But I've just been in the mood to play that. So that's honestly what I've been up to. Nothing too crazy other than that. I had a family barbecue yesterday with just my immediate family, and then I played some Destiny afterwards, and that kind of brought my mood down because Destiny is kind of in a bad state right now. But that's beside the point. That's what I've been up to. So Adam, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. My mom actually came up and visited, so that was nice seeing her over the weekend. She finally met Marta's parents, so that was kind of cool. Interacting, and we had a dinner together. Took a bunch of photos, me and Marta, which fucking walking around in the humid heat it drains you. I did that on Saturday. We're walking around just like sweating profusely, trying to take like nice pictures, and and then on Sunday we did the same thing. It was just. And then I hung out with her, and she left on Sunday. I came back. I haven't been really playing too much. I was happy I finished a book that I've been reading. It's called Contagious. Hopefully it'll help us with promoting the podcast. Who knows? But it just talks about like the trends and why certain trends connect to certain people, like why do they take off. And I was sort of thinking of maybe starting doing like with the books that I do like some sort of review, like use Clamor or something to do like a 24-second review of the book. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but like I always like reading books and like sharing what I read. But yeah, nothing really on the gaming spectrum. It's been a lot of gaming talks coming out of E3, and I've interacted with plenty of people online talking about Shadow of War. I interacted with one of the fans that seemed to always listen to us, which we greatly appreciate, Nikita, talking about Shadow of War, how it's something along the lines is like, I was talking about I felt like it was underrated, but he's saying that it's perfectly rated right now with like the amount of hype because that's what it was last year, and they did pretty well. I was saying, yeah, they did pretty well, but I don't think they did well enough for how great Shadow of Mordor was. And I thought it was really, he said it was an okay storytelling, which I completely understand. The story was all right, but I felt like the Nemesis system that they built, it was so impressive, so expansive. All the different storylines just from the orcs that you're fighting, that's a story in of itself and not just a single-player story, and I'm just excited. And I feel like it's still going under the radar with the expansion that they're doing with the fortresses and the craziness that'll be happening with the overlords and the different interactions. And I don't know. It kind of feels the same way with I feel the same way about your game that you liked the most was Far Cry 5. A lot of people, it seems like they're not giving it its due. I know maybe they just want something different from Far Cry, but that formula is really good, and I don't know how much can you iterate on it. All you need is hopefully they tell a good story, and that's basically what you need with that formula, in my opinion.
I honestly feel like Far Cry is never going to be that game that gets like the Call of Duty type hype. It's a great game, and a lot of people like it, but it's not just, there's just something about it, I guess, that not a lot of people, it's just not that like, that big name game that everyone's just like, oh my god, I cannot wait for this. But it still has a great fan base.
And I think I was also in the discussion talking about hype and how sometimes hype can be bad. I completely agree. Yeah. But when you've already delivered a solid game and it looks like the game is going to be even more solid, I feel like, especially when it's right around the corner, when it's a few months away, hype is not a bad thing. Hype is a good thing. It builds suspense. It builds people excitement going into the game, especially if you're only a few months out. So that also then caps the hype train so it doesn't go off the rails down the road. It caps right there because that's when it's going to release. That's what you see in the major issues with No Man's Sky, and seeing it could happen with Beyond Good and Evil. It's been so long, and Last Guardian, another example, is that it's been going on for so long. They've been talking about it. I see it with Death Stranding. They talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, and they don't really show as much, and they say things out of context, and people take it 100 different ways, and then, you're shit out of luck. And I've seen that plenty of times nowadays in the video game industry, and I don't know, I just feel like hype is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It's just when you extend it for a long period of time, that's when you have issues.
I just think you need to be level-headed, too. I mean, I remember being like really hyped back in the day for Halo 2, and it turned out to be a great game. Yep. With a terrible ending. In my opinion. But I just try to approach games anymore with just being level-headed. Be excited about certain things in the game. Like, for example, I'm excited about Destiny 2, but I'm not going to be like, oh my god, it's going to rival Star Wars now in the terms of stories, like they said last time. I just want to, I approach it with a level head. I'm excited to play Destiny 2. I'm excited to get into that universe and play, competitive and play cooperative gameplay, but I'm not going to go crazy and build all these hopes up that it's going to solve all the problems for the first game. I'm approaching it because I'm excited about Destiny 2. That's the way I look at it. Just try to be even keel.
Yeah, I think it's on the both sides of the coin, I guess you could say, is that it's on the consumers that are purchasing it is to keep a level head and understand what this game is and not try to make it out more than it will be. And then it's also on the developers for not promising too much in the heat of the moment or getting excited, because I understand the developers are excited and they want to show their game and they want to promise things and tell the consumers like why they should go out and purchase the things they put their heart and soul into. I can completely understand that, but sometimes you have to take a step back and make sure you're not promising you're not overpromising what your game is going to be. I know I mentioned that with Beyond Good and Evil because I did like a soundbite. I did something along those lines. Is that if you promise way too much, it ends up like No Man's Sky territory where there's a lot of vitriol for the developer, like Sean Murray. I don't know if he can ever show his face at a gaming conference again now with the gaming with the fiasco with No Man's Sky and false promises and all that. Because it was on both sides. I admit that it was on Sean Murray's side over promising, and it was also on the consumer side and the media side for hyping it way more than it should be.
Yeah, and I feel like as a gaming company or a developer, you just have to let the game speak for itself. Let people get excited about the features that are in the game. Don't start promising random things and building up your game for what it isn't. Just let your game speak for itself.
This is why I think sometimes I feel like conferences nowadays are, trying. It's frustrating, especially when you go to the E3 press conference and they're talking about games. Most of the games are in 2018. Like, that's the frustrating thing. I mean, they have gameplay, but it's going to be 2018. It's not going to be for this year, which I've always thought that's what the conference is supposed to be. It's supposed to show you mostly what's coming this year and things to come, but not more specific about those. You just keep you on, like, in the horizon after this year, so you're excited for the next E3 for when they show more,
Yeah, I guess it kind of just shows you how complex games are nowadays. I mean, I'm not sure if this is like exactly an excuse for the fact that a lot of games are coming out like 2 years down the line, but it just goes to show you the development time it takes for a lot of these big name games nowadays. And it's unfortunate for the consumer because you're waiting forever, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast, I feel like sometimes.
And it's always a thought is, are these conferences going to slowly die, most likely? Like, are the big having everybody together, are they going to die, and it's just going to become like the PSX where you have fans of that company, that brand, you have fans of a developer or publisher, you have fans of Xbox or PlayStation, Nintendo, and they're doing their own separate conferences when they have stuff to announce that's within a time range that makes sense instead of years down the line. I feel like that's the best bet. And also for developers or publishers, I feel like the best thing to do, honestly, is start releasing things maybe 6 months ahead of time, maybe 3 months. I don't know the exact range you should, but just tell people this is this. And, draw it out, like give more and more information closer and closer, build up the hype. And a lot of games can do that. I mean, a lot of games, sometimes you just need to release, like Fallout 4, you just need to tell the title, and that had people sold.
True. Yeah. Very true.
So, now we're going to finally get into what the Tuesday episode was going to be, but I felt like that was a good conversation to have beforehand. Got me into the flow of things. I'm feeling good now, Gary. I'm feeling a little better.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for.
You are my best friend for a reason. So now we are doing, it's episode 42 and a half. The topic will be, we're going to talk about Killing Floor 2, which is one of the PS Plus games, which is what we both have. We have PlayStation Plus. And I feel like we're going to be doing that every month now, is we're going to choose out a PlayStation Plus game that's coming out this week, whichever one, tickles our fancy, maybe both of them. It'll help us, not think of too many topics or, how it is. And also, I don't know, it's, I guess, kind of like a video game club that people can play in the middle of, get it in the beginning of the month and then play with us, and then you can hear our thoughts about it later in the month. So I feel like that's a good, because you always hear, I've heard plenty of times from other podcasts that they've thought about doing a video game club like this, and nobody stuck to it. And I mean, like, we're poor. We're not poor, but, we can't spend, we don't just get, like, all the games from, the company, like, they're not, like, given to us. So we sometimes take the free ones when we can get them.
Sure. And in the case of this game, it's well worth the value.
You want to start us off, Gary?
Sure. So basically, I guess it's going to be kind of like a Killing Floor 2 review that we're doing here. So as before, as I've done in the past with The Flame and the Flood, I basically divided up the game into certain categories like gameplay, graphics, sound, story, replay value, and then finally our recommendation, whether or not we recommend the game or no. So to start off, basically we're going to be talking about gameplay. So with regards to this game, your objective is pretty simple. You're out there to kill tons of Zeds, defend off waves and then eventually face the final boss. So you can choose how long you want the waves to be. So you can go 4 waves, 7 waves, 10 waves, depending on how long you want to play for. There's different difficulties available. You can play normal, hard, and then I think what's the last one? It's something crazy, but it's really hard. Let's put it that way. So the way I looked at it, I didn't really know what to expect from this game when I first got it. It was a PC game, I believe, beforehand, and I never really heard of it until now. So I thought that the gunplay, I don't know about you, Adam, but I thought the gunplay was really smooth and responsive, and ultimately it really rewards a good aim on your part. So if you're like the kind of spray and pray kind of person, this game might not be your type of thing.
But to add on to that, I feel like there are guns in the game that allow you to play that style. More spray and pray. If you're using the shotgun or something, that's more likely has a wider hitbox, I guess, and that allows different types of players. And that's what I like about Killing Floor 2, gameplay wise. It does feel smooth. If you're coming from a first person shooter like Call of Duty, Destiny, or Battlefield, it's not going to feel as great as those games. But I feel like it's definitely serviceable. It responds really well, smooth. Basically, it kind of feels like, generic horde mode, but then you also kind of have, like, the mix of Call of Duty kind of style where you're moving from area to area type deal, going back and forth, build after every round, you're, getting the money throughout the round and then purchasing new weapons, getting better and better each round up until the boss, which is the bosses are no joke. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to tread into other territory if I talk too much with your splitting it up. I normally just go off onto a tangent, so I'll stop right there. Hold myself back.
It's cool. So furthermore, they have a perk system, which is kind of like a class system in the game, which allows you to, choose which weapons or loadouts you want to start out with. So for example, they have like a Berserker perk, which means that you're basically like a melee combat tank. You basically go to the front lines, you take on a bunch of Zeds, and you take the most damage and also deal the most damage to your enemies, kind of keep the Zeds from overwhelming your team. You can also have like the Firebug perk, which allows you to basically be a crowd control expert for your team. You lay down actual fire with like a flamethrower and keep Zeds off you. So there's a lot of different roles I think that this game has created, and I think it's kind of cool because in my opinion, it makes it easier to play the game and get into it when you can choose a class, know your role, know what to do. You can be a field medic in this game, and you know right away that obviously you're going to be healing your teammates, and that's the role you're going to play. So I personally like that.
But you can also, throughout the game, which I do enjoy, is that you can sort of combo your play styles. You can get different weapons from other classes, and the benefit of this is that when you're killing enemies with a different weapon, you actually level up that class as well, so you can, in theory, start leveling up both classes along the way. However, when you get in harder and harder levels, when you're leveling up a certain class, you want to stick with that class and those type of weapons because you get perks for those classes. Like you get, like for example, I use the sharpshooter. One perk is if you're standing still, you get 25% extra damage, and that'll be beneficial down the line when you're playing in harder difficulties. You don't want to be using another class's weapon when you don't get the extra perks to it.
Yep, and in my case, I play the SWAT class pretty much exclusively lately, and one of the perks I think I have level 5 and 10 perks right now. So I have one that increases my reload speed on my class weapons, and then another one that allows me to start off the game with 50 armor. So there's a lot of customization with the perks and with the different classes that you can choose. So I really like how in-depth that is in this game. So overall, I would say I really enjoyed the gameplay in this game. I think it's, like I said, the gunplay is really smooth. If you're a fan of gunplay, if you like having something that's responsive and crisp, this is definitely something you should pick up. I would say that this game is also kind of hard. It's easy to pick up but harder to master, as in, like for me personally, when I switched over, it took me a little bit to get used to the aiming and everything. But sure enough, after like a few playthroughs and everything, I felt right at home. And it was, one of those things that just got better and better at.
Yeah, I did enjoy the gameplay. I felt like it was solid. I personally didn't play much because there's also, we didn't mention, there is a PvP aspect to it, where you can have players play as the Zeds, and they're specialty just zombies. So if you're familiar with Left 4 Dead, you have the specialty zombies, like the bloater that throws up on somebody. There's that there. You have someone like a little anorectic like zombie
Siren.
Woman that just like freaks out and like screams, that just drops your health and absorbs all the grenades that you throw. Then you have these gigantic tanks that just run in, one with a chainsaw, one with just two fucking like the Hulk style. It's Hulk smash style.
That's a terrifying experience, by the way. Terrifying. So
yeah,
throwing it out there.
It is a little nerve-wracking when you hear them hop onto the battlefield, which does that lead into the sound portion of is that the next one?
This is basically the next thing is graphics that we're going to be talking about. Now, it's nothing crazy, mind you. Actually, I want to say this before we get into the graphics section, though. This is only basically a PvE or co-op review or discussion. It really isn't in the PvP. I haven't jumped into that yet. Maybe later on I'll talk about it in another episode, just brush over it. But this is just a co-op discussion.
I did have to mention, though, if this could constitute as gameplay, the one issue that I did have was personally finding matches. I don't know if you experienced the same thing.
I haven't had as much a problem, no.
It may have just been my connection, but sometimes it's certain games like just don't want to connect for me, and some games do.
And if I may, I meant to add this in here before, but the switching weapons, at least on the console, was a little, I don't know, it wasn't my favorite way of switching weapons. I felt like sometimes when you're getting ganged up on, you have to keep clicking triangle, and it's just not that easy to do that when you're getting overwhelmed.
Yeah,
so.
You can hold triangle and then switch to a specific weapon, but that's not really conducive for when you're getting attacked by a shit ton of zombies, basically. Which seems like it's definitely more conducive for a computer game, because then you can just switch with the buttons easily, easy peasy, switch over. So I can understand that, but I mean, you have to somehow work the controls in. But I don't think that wasn't too much of an issue for me, but maybe down the line when you're fighting at the highest difficulty, that can be an issue.
Yeah, it wasn't like a major problem for me either. But anyway, moving on to the graphics portion. Now, like I said, nothing major here. I think that the graphics are quality. They're pretty much run-of-the-mill you would see in a lot of other games. But I think that one thing this game really does well is the detail on the enemies that you're facing. For example, I think it's called Z time. When the game slows down and goes into slow motion, you can kind of like aim your shots real well. You can really just see in detail how ugly and disgusting and hideous these enemies are. And I just think that this game did a really good job at designing the enemies you face, but also the bosses, like the Patriarch, or is it Hans Volter? That guy?
Probably.
So they do a really good job with that. But yeah, that's basically it. The game's really gory. If you're really into gore, and
you
like
can turn down the gore, you can make it less gory, you can make it medium gore, you can make it high gore, which is what I have. And if you do, and there's a wave of zombies or Zeds coming at you, just blood everywhere. Just expect blood and guts everywhere. That's what's going to happen. You mentioned the Z time, which we didn't get to in the gameplay portion. Sometimes it does throw me off that it just randomly occurs. I mean, it's not random. It's if somebody on your team hits, I think, a certain amount of headshots, if I'm correct, right? And then it's something like that. And all of a sudden, everybody... That's an interesting mechanic that they add to the game, is eventually if everybody has Z time once it happens. So you could be in the middle of a reload session, which doesn't really... Then you're just like kind of useless during this time. Or you could be, backing away from a crap ton of people. It's a whole... But I feel like when you get in the later rounds, when you get leveled up more and more, you can do more things during that Z time, because you'll have perks that allow you to move faster during Z time or reload faster. So I feel like that is definitely a benefit for when when that does occur. As of right now, it seems like more of a hindrance when you're reloading, but it could be sort of balanced out later down the line when you're in more difficult, levels.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that it's one of those things that it took me a little bit of time to get used to, but I kind of learned how to use that to my advantage. And like you said, with certain perks that you get later on, it becomes less of a nuisance, I guess, in certain instances. So I really thought it was pretty cool. Now, moving on to sound.
I did want to make a note about graphics. I'm not really a graphics whore, so that's basically what I wanted to say. I felt like this game is serviceable with the graphics, looks beautiful. Nowadays, I feel like most of the time, if it's blatantly obvious that like the images or faces aren't rendering or anything like that, then that's a bad thing. But when a thing looks as good as it, like a PS4 or an Xbox One game should, then I feel like the graphics looks great. That's just my opinion. But yeah, move on to sound.
Roger that. So the sounds are, I mean, this is kind of just, again, kind of like I guess a minor thing in this whole review here, or discussion. But I thought that, again, the sounds are really fantastic in this game. The guns sound really good. They all sound different depending on what class of weapons you're using. I mean, you can use a shotgun, you can use submachine gun, assault rifle, you name it. The I guess the enemy sounds in this game are also really well done. I mean, for as good as they look, they also sound just as awesome. You know, you have like the screaming, the grunting. I know you were saying the crazy anorexic looking woman, the sirens. The sirens,
Yeah.
you know when they're on the battlefield, you know when you're about to take one on. So I think that they do it really well. A really good job there. Also, the music in each round. I like how they kind of start up that like hard rock death metal music before every round. It kind of gets me in the badass mode to just kind of mow down a bunch of Zeds and zombies. It just feels right in this game. So that was just it for sound. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
I mean, it is also like sets the tone is when, you know, the big monsters, the big fuckers just hop into the battlefield and you can just hear them let out just a loud yell. It kind of sets the mood of what's happening. The game can be creepy. It can be pretty easy at times when you're just mowing down like the simple ones that are just coming at you. So, I mean, yeah, sound, I thought it was good. I feel like it had a good, solid soundtrack. You know, same. That's basically my opinion.
All right. So this next topic, I guess, or this next category is story. Now, I don't really think you'll agree with me on this. There really isn't a story to this game.
That's why I feel like this game is lacking. It's not really telling you any backstory as why has this occurred, what is going on, who are these bosses that you're fighting. It doesn't seem like they're giving you too much information about the world and everything. Even no matter what the levels in itself sort of kind of can tell you what's going on somewhat. Because I know the descent level, it shows you like experiments that are going on through they're experimenting on humans or the Zeds. I don't know which exactly one, but other than that, there's not much, you know, backstory or any single player that you can go through to help you understand what happened in this world, the Killing Floor world. Like, why is this occurring? Why are these things called Zeds and why are they called that? Like, why did they call them Zeds? Why can't they just call them zombies? They just want to be different. You know, it's like Days Gone calling them freakers. I mean, really, they're zombies. Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, in the same token, I don't really know if this game really needs a story. It's not one of those games that if you're looking for like a Skyrim-esque experience, move on. This isn't the type of game for you.
Yeah.
If you're just kind of looking to team up with your buddies and shoot some shit, this is the type of game that they're looking for.
That's very true, because I remember playing with you. It's very fun when you're playing with people that you know, just hanging out, you know, shooting the shit, literally. Shooting these badass, or these motherfuckers.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's you know, it's fun couch co-op, I want to say, or online co-op. Like, just get a bunch of, you know, friends together and start shooting up some zombies, working your way up to the boss. And then the boss can get pretty intense and sometimes a little, you know, hectic, especially in certain levels where they run away or it's just all in one area. So it's kind of hard to, you know, stay away from them because when they get close to you, that's when they can really do some damage.
Yep. And this kind of actually leads into my last topic or last category that I have here in the replay value. So ultimately, I feel like this game can be really addicting when you're playing with friends. It's one of those things where as the game increases in difficulty, you're going to need a team that understands what they're doing, understands where to stand, understands their role. It's very important. And I feel like if you're a solo player, it's going to be harder to kind of cope with the harder difficulties because a lot of times, especially on consoles, I've seen this, you don't really have a lot of people talking as much. There's not a lot of people that have mics. And frankly, since this game's so new on consoles, you're going to have a lot of newer players as well. So as I'm saying, basically the point I'm trying to make here is that online matchmaking is a gamble. And if you're a solo player, the replay value of this game might not be that high. So I would recommend very much playing with a group of friends that you know, a group of friends that are good at video games, preferably. And I mean, it can be really a lot of fun that way.
Mm-hmm. The benefit of playing with also your friends is that you don't have like you can also coordinate who's playing what. You don't have those people that are just like you're you're already locked in as somebody, and they're like you're locked in as SWAT, for example, and then somebody also switches to SWAT. The benefit with playing with your buddies, you have different, move sets, I guess, different, ways that they can play, and the benefit of playing with people, you're easily can coordinate if you know the maps well. Like if you played enough, you know the maps well. There was a mechanic in the game that I didn't mention. Certain maps you can actually weld doors shut, so the Zeds have to like bang through. So there could be, sort of a strategy there is where you have one player that one of your friends just sit by the door, and when someone tries to bang through, they just keep welding it shut so it stays shut, trying to funnel the Zeds into another portion of the room for your other 5 players to just start mowing down, just unloading fire into that area. But also there is the random chances that Zeds pop through the ceiling, or the little spider walker motherfuckers that can just pop up out of nowhere, or like the invisible ones that just pop up and try to do like a Bruce Lee kick to you. There's a lot of different enemy types in this, and that's why I feel like we should give PvP a chance, because there's a lot of different roles you can play. I feel like being the silent stalker, the invisible one, could be a lot of fun. Running around as fucking Hawk Smash would be amazing. I don't know how they plan on doing that with the boss, PvP style. I wonder if the boss just does his own thing and you're like a little, side zombies.
Is there a final boss in the PvP, or is it just like a team deathmatch type thing where you're just fighting?
That's a good question. I don't know. I was honestly, the thought that I had is kind of like Left 4 Dead, is where they try to get through the waves of enemies to finally finish, and you're just trying to take them out one by one.
Okay,
but I could be wrong.
Interesting. By the way, I meant to say, Adam, Ben and Gavin actually downloaded this game. So that's 4 people. We have 4 people right now. Actually, I know another kid too. Peter's my good friend that I played hockey with at Rutgers. He also has it. So that's 5 people.
Have you been playing with them?
Yeah, I actually we played the other night. I think it was Saturday night. We played for a little bit. It was like our first time playing together, and it was just a blast. I mean, my friend Ben, he pulled out the AA-12 shotgun and was just blowing away everything in sight. You just heard, nice. It's hilarious.
But, those are the things why we enjoy video games, though. Am I right? It's like playing with your friends, and you just have crazy moments that like only you will remember for a while. It's just good times like that.
And that's the thing, and that basically sums up the entire replay value thing. This game is like the perfect friends game. I feel like you can play together. Like Adam was saying, you can kind of work out strategies, weld doors shut. It's just a great time. So I would say the replay value for this game is pretty solid if you're playing with friends. Yeah,
it's dependent on a certain people you're playing with, I guess. That's the main caveat. If you want to have a caveat for this game, I feel like it being a free game, definitely worth your time picking up. If it was like a purchase game, I feel like that's where you get into iffy territory. I feel like this is definitely, I don't know what it came out. I think it came out for $40. $40. I don't know if that's a little too high for the amount of content that they give you. I mean, it's only like 12 maps. You have different levels, but you only have PvE and PvP. But the bright side is what I've been seeing is that they've been adding more things for free. The developers, Gary, do you know the developers off the top of your head?
Tripwire, I believe.
Tripwire, which is a nice benefit that you have developers adding new things just to make their game more expansive and more things to do. I really have been enjoying playing this game with Gary. Finally, we found a game to play together. So congrats to Killing Floor 2. You did it. But yeah, it's been fun. I enjoyed it.
Yep. So I mean, I also agree with Adam. I definitely recommend playing this game. I think it's a great free game. You can't beat it for free, and you can't really beat any game for free. Let's be honest.
True.
I would pay money for this game. $40, that seems about right for me. $60, that's a little too much for me. But I mean, seriously, pick up this game. If you like zombies from Call of Duty, you're gonna love this game. It's basically it's a zombies game. There's nothing else to it. You basically hold off waves. You can play PvP. So if you're into that sort of thing, like I am, pick it up.
Yeah, and if you guys want to play this game with us, you're more than welcome to. Just, you can find us on Twitter at 2JerseyKids. You can DM us, and we'll friend you on PlayStation Network if you have PSN ID. And if you have Xbox, I am sorry. I do have an Xbox. I haven't plugged it in a while. I need to get around to that. Actually, I'm going to be moving soon, so why plug it? Sorry, Xbox. You haven't given me a reason to plug it in. Not shots fired or anything, but seriously. But yeah, if you want to play, with us, you're more than welcome to. Me and Gary will shoot you, or you can shoot us your PSN ID, and then we'll, send you friend requests. Make sure you know that's Gary and Adam, or Gary or Adam from Two Jersey Kids, and we'll be happy, hang out with you, shoot the shit with you, party chat with you while we play this game, see what you think. But yeah, that's about it. Gary, you have anything to say about anything before we wrap it up?
That's basically it. I mean, it was kind of cool talking about this game. It's something I look forward to doing, I guess, in the upcoming months and in the foreseeable future. I'm excited to play more games. It doesn't matter really what console it's on. So that's pretty much it. It's been fun being here, as always. I'll see you guys again on our Friday episode.
Yeah. It's kind of strange that these episodes are going a little shorter now because the E3 ones took forever.
Yeah, it is strange. Yeah, it kind of like throw me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but we really appreciate all you guys sticking with us. We may announce something in the future. Not sure when that'll be. It'll be down the pipeline. We just have
big news.
We're sorting out some details. I don't know. I don't want to overhype us. We just talked about the hype train, Gary. I don't want to blow out the hype.
It's definitely news, though.
It's definitely news. It's definitely news, that's for sure. But yeah, we appreciate it all so much. I actually, before I go, and I am actually going to be on a podcast. I'm going to be recording after this podcast. Sorry, Gary, I'm not a trader, I promise. I'll be promoting the podcast. But yeah, I'm going to be on the Philadelphia Sports Table podcast. Actually, it's kind of cool enough. I listened to them way back when, when they started, not when they started, but it's like a junior year in college, like during the summer. I was listening to them as I was working on one of the summer projects is there for engineering, and they're a pretty cool bunch, and I'm excited to finally hop on their podcast and talk to them about the evolution of sports and video games. Do you have anything you want me to tell them? Make sure I mention, Gary?
Listen to our podcast.
Okay, I'll make sure I'll tell them that.
Simple enough.
But yeah, it should be fun. So after you check out this, go check out their episode with me. It's a table talk episode. It should be only like 20, 25 minutes. So if you've had enough of me already for this 36 minutes, I can completely understand. Just give it another day and then listen to that one. But yeah, we are Two Jersey Kids. We love you so much. Gary, say bye.
Adios.
We love you all. Keep playing those games. We'll see you on Friday. Bye.